Welcome to the conversation at airsafe.com. I'm your host, Todd Curtis. On November 4th, 2015, I had a conversation with BBC World Service where we discussed the emerging consensus between US and UK authorities that a bomb may have taken out the Metrojet A321 in Egypt on October 31st, 2015.
So Britain now believes that a bomb was the cause of a crash of a Russian airliner flying over Egypt at the weekend. All 224 people on board died.
British Airlines have grounded flights to and from Sharm el-Sheikh in response. Here's the British Transport Secretary speaking early last night.
We cannot categorically say why the Russian jet crashed, but we have become concerned that the plane may well have been brought down as a result of an explosive device. Safety will always be the priority, and that is why the Prime Minister last night called President Sisi to express concern and to ensure that the tightest possible security arrangements were put in place at Sharm el-Sheikh. As a precautionary measure, we've decided that flights due to leave Sharm el-Sheikh this evening for the UK will be delayed, and that will allow us time to ensure that the right security measures are in place for flights.
The Islamic State group has repeated its message that it's responsible for the alleged attack. Well, joining us now from Boston is Todd Curtis of airsafe.com. Todd, what's the evidence?
Well, the evidence is indirect at best. The intelligence services of the US and UK have apparently, through official and unofficial channels, admitted that they have evidence gathered after the crash that seems to point toward a bomb, although they stress, at least the U.S. sources do, that this is not conclusive evidence, but that the evidence is leaning in that direction.
And any ideas, if it was a bomb, how it may have got on the flight? What's security like there?
Well, this is an important airport for the tourist trade and for the holidaymakers from Britain and elsewhere, but it's not a major international airport like JFK or Heathrow. So the level of security that exists at that airport is not what you would see elsewhere. But the common kinds of security screenings that are done around the world for hand baggage and for check luggage is certainly in place. But the weak link there and at every other airport are the hundreds and sometimes thousands of ground personnel that are necessary to run any airport.
So in other words, the person didn't need to go on board with the bomb. They could have just put that through that on its own.
That's correct. You not only have the people who service the plane while it's about to take off with passengers, but if the airplane has to spend the night at the airport, well, it's not going to be under view 24 hours a day by the airline. There will be airport officials, security officials, who will be looking at that airplane. And of course, if there is someone there who has sympathies with any number of groups, those aircraft could be at risk.
And of course, there's been no confirmation from the Russian or Egyptian government so far. In fact, the Egyptian foreign minister has expressed his surprise at the comments coming out from Britain. So that there could still be a possibility, could there, that it isn't a bomb?
Well, certainly. There's a lot of evidence that still has to be looked at, especially the voice recorder and the flight data recorder from the black boxes. Also, the wreckage itself may hold clues that could exclude or include a bomb as a possibility.
And the group that's alleging it's responsible for this is linked to Islamic State. Do you know much about this group and whether they've done anything or tried anything like this before?
Well, the intelligence services in the U.S. and elsewhere have discussed these groups, some of which are associated with ISIS. But these same groups were not associated with ISIS sometime in the past. However, in that part of the Sinai, there are a number of insurgent groups that are in conflict with the Egyptian government over control of the territory. So it's unclear exactly who has what allegiance to what group and who may have a motive to do harm to the tourist or to this aircraft.
And it seems that there are various Britons who have returned recently from Sharm el-Sheikh, just looking at one person saying, security seems shoddy to me, officials overstretched. The security at Sharm el-Sheikh, has it been always questioned or not? What do you know about that?
I'm not very familiar with the security procedures at Sharm el-Sheikh, but Sharm el-Sheikh has for quite a number of years been a large tourist attraction and a large source of revenue for the tourist industry in Egypt. So certainly it's an area, not just the airport, but the entire area, that's been of concern to the Egyptian authorities for some time.
Okay, thanks ever so much for joining us. That's Todd Curtis of airsafe.com.
For more information on this event, please visit metrojet.airsafe.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.